At the start of October, I hired this single-roomed Airbnb in Perthshire. Affectionately named Writer's Retreat, it was a perfect place to devote time towards writing my book. In this video, I share my final morning at the cottage, some mindful photography tips, and a trip to the famous Hermitage to photograph the beginning of autumn. So today is checkout day from this beautiful writer's retreat. I've managed to get about 3-ish chapters kind of written and planned, as well as some other work. So it's been a pretty productive trip, and I was able to get some rest yesterday as well, which was lovely. I'm up bright and early this morning, sending some emails, planning the next offerings of my work. And this weekend I'm hosting a 5 Principles to Mindful Photography day workshop in Aberdeenshire for 2 camera clubs, the Cullen Camera Collective and Fraserburgh Camera Club. We're coming together and I'm doing a nice, like I say, day workshop in a beautiful countryside location, which Claire and Phil, who run the Cullen Camera Collective, have arranged. So we're doing one this Sunday and one next Sunday. So I'm just getting the final print-off documents prepared for that to give to the participants, so that I'll have a couple of days then to rehearse things in my mind before the workshop begins. So as I'm preparing this document for the weekend, I've just written something that I thought would be really interesting to share with you. A question I've had quite a few times over the years is, how can I tell a story through my photography? And in the last year or so, I've created this framework called the 5 Principles to Mindful Photography. I'm making it into something just now, and I'm beginning to share it. And this weekend, this workshop, this day workshop that I've been invited to do, is all about teaching this 5 Principles of Mindful Photography. So the third principle is relationships and connections, and it's talking about how everything is interconnected. So everything you see when you go out with your camera has a relationship or connection with everything else around it. And you as a photographer also have a relationship and connection with the things that you're seeing. So what I've just written, I want to read out to you, because maybe it's something that will help you and that you can ponder next time you're out with your camera. Your most unique asset as a photographer is how you see and relate to the world. Your most fulfilling images will always be made when you feel moved or connected to the subjects you're photographing. Allow time to explore the scene in front of you and what within it moves and interests you most. Explore how you can best represent the subject in the frame. How can you compose the subject, working in harmony with the light and its surroundings, to tell the story of what you're seeing and being moved by? Essentially, it's all about slowing down. The more we slow down and the more we observe the world, the better photographers will be. Because I've learnt over the years that I actually learn more about photography when I'm not behind the camera. It's when I'm out there observing the light, getting curious about the world around me, looking at how things are interrelated and interconnected. It then helps me when I get my camera out to understand how to work with the world around me, work with the light, understand the subjects, and how to then position myself to photograph it in the most effective way. So I hope that'll help you on your journey. And as I evolve these principles and share them more widely, then this will hopefully get clearer and give you all a really interesting course and a framework to follow on your own photographic journeys. So I'm just about to post a reel on Instagram about what I was just speaking about there. Something I'm really keen to do moving forwards is to create more valuable content on Instagram. So things that can give people hints and tips or inspiration to head out and do photography. So it's quite nice, I think, to start doing more of these like behind the scenes stuff, whether it's on YouTube or on Instagram. I think it can just be really insightful for people. So I'm just going to get this reel up now, get it posted, and then it's a case of finishing packing and hitting the road.
A life that we haven't expanded, and everything's the same, and I didn't Groundhog Day, and this sucks. And so why would we get uncomfortable? We don't even think there's something better outside of us. We don't even think there's a greater experience. We can't even almost see.
Well, I haven't really got any plans today. It's a case of heading home. But I thought it would be nice to swing by Blairgowrie. It's a town that I've driven through once, but I've never actually stopped in. So I thought it would be nice to go there and get a little drink, maybe do some more work in a cafe, and then find somewhere between there and home to stop and go for a walk in nature and do some photography and see what things I can find to photograph and enjoy today. After filming this, I had a lovely chat with the Airbnb host. And after rocking out to Aerosmith and Youngblood's new song, My Only Angel, I decided to go to the Hermitage for a photo walk. So my plan all along on this trip had been to go to the Hermitage on the way home, which is a pretty iconic location in Scotland. It's just off the A9 beside Dunkeld. There's some really interesting historic elements to the walk, and it's a beautiful woodland walk. And especially in the autumn, it's very popular with people coming to see the changing leaves and for photographers. But when I was driving down the A9 on my way to the accommodation the other day, the trees were still pretty green, but today, just literally 3 days later, they've got quite a lot of orange in them. So I've decided to stop off here, and I'm going to go for a lovely walk and see what sort of images I can create. Look at the mosses on this tree. It's incredible. It's caught a little leaf here. A little leaf, it's pretty big. This is fairly a good sign of a healthy woodland. Nice fresh air. Oh, look at that. Little leaves. Oh, and they're everywhere. I love these trees here. I'm envisaging an image portrait of me walking through there with the towering trees around me. I find doing photography in places like this quite challenging because they're very busy and there's quite a lot of people around. So I'm waiting for two ladies right now to finish their conversation and move on, and then I'll be able to get a photograph of me walking through these beautiful trees.
This sort of self-portraiture in nature stuff is quite an interesting concept, because while I can compose the scene itself and get it a nice composition that's pleasing, what I can't always control is how I look in the image. So I've just photographed 3 photographs of me underneath these trees, walking, but I don't like how any of them look, because I look really sad and just not quite right facial expression wise. So I have to keep running back and forward and photographing this multiple times, trying to get an image where I am in a position that looks well, balanced with the trees, but that I'm also have a facial expression, or I'm looking up, or something that also complements the image. There's a lot more to think about in these styles of photographs, and especially somewhere like this where it's so busy, I can't just keep hopping in and out. I have to keep waiting for people to walk past, which is, putting more time onto this as well. And it's like overcoming this fear, I think, as well, of being seen doing this. It's quite a challenge, but I'm open to challenging myself at the moment, and it's exciting what opportunities this is bringing.
I then bypassed the famous spots and made my way down to the river's edge. Putting my telephoto lens on, I began looking for interesting subjects to isolate in the scene. These fallen leaves lying on the textured stone really caught my eye, each one unique and telling a story of its own. Looking closer, I found this tiny puddle of water, and then this small slug. With the low light and his movement, plus the fact I was hand-holding my camera, I wasn't quite able to get him in focus. But I smiled so much when I reviewed these images on the computer that I simply had to share them with you. And then I discovered this rock. Can you see the upside-down heart in the middle?
It's quite hard to talk here because the sound of the water rushing downstream is very, very loud around the waterfall. I've just come to the other side of this old ancient bridge, and although of course the traditional iconic landscape images are of great interest to many, and there are quite a number of photographers here, I think, on a workshop photographing those iconic landscape images, it's much more like these little things here that interest me more than anything else. Zooming into little bits of leaves, little areas, overhanging branches, the interplay between the rocks and the trees. It's just a really interesting thing to photograph. I think it's quite an important thing to say as well, you know, I regularly stay away from iconic locations for many reasons, but when I do go to them, I try and seek other images that aren't just the iconic photos. I might still photograph them on occasion, but these locations are iconic for a reason, and it's not just the iconic photograph that is available to us. In fact, there is countless millions of other opportunities around us that we miss if we focus on the iconic ones. So that's exactly what I'm doing here, focusing on something else, because my gosh, there's so much beauty here, so much diversity, and so much to photograph. Whoa! A fish just jumped out of the water. That was so cool.
These images are a fantastic representation of how there are things around us all the time that we often fail to notice. May this inspire you to look a little closer next time you're out with your camera.
I feel like I have something controversial to say, but I think it's very, very important. At least in my eyes anyway, and I suspect by many of you who watch my channel, you will approach life and your photography from a very similar standpoint, a very similar energy to me. And something I've just witnessed, I think, is always reminding me that we have so many different ways that we can approach life and approach our photography. So this morning in the Airbnb, I was speaking to you about relationships and connections and preparing for this workshop this weekend. And I think how we approach and how we connect with our subjects is often more important than anything else. Everything in life is energy, and by becoming conscious of how we're approaching our subjects, and I guess what our intentions are, will often help us to just connect with them on a different level and also see more things than what we maybe normally do. So I've come to this location and there's a photography workshop here, which is normal at this time of year. There's always photography workshops around Perthshire in the autumn. It's one of the best places in Scotland to photograph the autumn colours. And I kept my distance from them because they're photographing the iconic things, which is understandable. It's obviously the type of workshop they've booked onto, and they're obviously learning a lot about composition and what makes a good landscape image. But it's just really fascinating watching a group of people photographing the same images in the same places, and also how they're approaching it. And there was one person in particular that I saw that had this energy of trying to get. I could see him, he was searching for image opportunities, for compositions, kind of going after it from almost like this sense of, I need to get this, I want to get this, you know, this tension, this very almost forceful, I guess you could call it, way of approaching photography. And I remember when I began photography, I was very unsupported by other photographers. I recall feeling very different in how I approached the world. I recall getting quite a lot of backlash when I started YouTube because my approach was different to, I guess, the traditional way of approaching photography. This sense of bucket lists, going to locations, building portfolios, getting that shot. It was much more to me about that connection. It always has been. And I'm not dissing or judging photographers who approach photography in this way. I just find it so fascinating to see the contrast and the difference between this sense of getting, of shooting images, of chasing things, and this other side, which I guess I've adopted in my practice, of being more mindful of noticing things that most people don't. Because in this location, you know, there's about 3 spots where you can get really beautiful, iconic landscape images, stunning compositions, interest stories. But they've been photographed a million times, and yeah, they're well worth coming to see and well worth photographing. But within that, there's millions of other images surrounding those 3 spots, because you're surrounded by trees, you've got the water, you've got the rapids, you've got the rocks, you've got the wildlife. I saw a fish jumping out of the water. And when we have this mindset of going out to get something, to get that bucket list shot, to get that same image that many people have photographed over and over again, albeit in different conditions and all that kind of stuff. But you know what I mean? When we go after this like one-dimensional approach, how our energy is in that moment is very different to when we go out and we're open to just seeing what we can find. I just thought I would pass this back to you guys really to contemplate how it is that you approach photography, and whether you feel you approach it in a way that works for you and that gives you the most enjoyment and that helps you to really enjoy the experience, I also think this is a good time also to mention, last year I wrote a book called From Shooting to Creating, How Changing Your Language Can Transform Your Photography. It's much more of a manual. It's not the type of book that you can read through and gain loads of insights. It's really an opportunity for you to explore every word that we use in photography: shooting, capturing, taking, snapping, making and creating, and deciding what persona you want to adopt, because each of these words have different meanings, have different energy, have different intentions behind them. And I think it's just a fascinating thing for us all to ponder as photographers. Are we shooters? Are we capturers? Are we takers? Are we makers? Are we creators? You can even hear when I say these words in my voice, there's different intensities, different energy behind them. And it's, I guess a very philosophical, maybe esoteric way of looking at things. But if you are interested in mindful photography, philosophy, psychology, energy, then this book may be something worth reading. And I have just ordered some more copies, so it's now available to order from my website. I can ship a physical copy out to you, or you can download the ebook. And like I say, it's a manual. It's something that you really need to take time over. It could take you a number of months to properly explore. But if you're interested in that kind of thing, then it may really help you to become not only a more conscious and mindful photographer, but it may also change you and your energy as well throughout all of your life. So if that's of interest, you can find a link in the description box below. And all that's left to say now is thank you so much for watching. It's been a really interesting day today. Really enjoyed this morning working and enjoyed coming here for a little walk. Like I say, a lot more busier and iconic than my usual places, but it's been nice to get out and just experience this place nevertheless. So wherever you are in the world, I hope you have a wonderful week, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.